My name is Helen, and I'm 29. I recently married Bobby, my 31-year-old husband, an office employee. We had big dreams for our life together, and our newlywed days were supposed to be perfect, a fresh start in a beautiful home we'd worked hard for. This $500,000 house was meant to be a symbol of everything we had built and hoped for, designed with care for us to enjoy as we began this new chapter of our lives. From the moment we got engaged, Bobby and I threw ourselves into every detail, choosing the layout, the colors, the furniture. We were so excited to settle into our dream space, imagining a life of happiness and shared memories. But I never imagined the dream we'd worked so hard for would be derailed by a completely unexpected intruder. It all began the day we moved in. As we unpacked, I was overwhelmed by the sheer amount of Bobby's things, boxes upon boxes, cluttering up the rooms. It felt like there was nowhere to put everything, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing control. "Bobby," I said, my voice edged with confusion, "is there enough space for all this stuff? It seems like a lot." He shrugged dismissively and then dropped a bombshell. "Oh, did I not tell you? Doris is moving in with us." I froze. Doris, his younger sister, had never been part of the plan. "What? Why? We just got married. This is supposed to be our home," I protested, trying to process what I'd just heard. He didn't seem bothered at all. "It's no big deal," he said, brushing me off. "Doris is family. She just needs a place to stay for a while. It won't be an issue." I felt my stomach tighten. We'd spent months planning this place together, and now it felt like someone was just barging in. "But Bobby, we never talked about this. You didn't tell me she was coming. Shouldn't we have discussed this first?" Bobby barely acknowledged my concerns. He was too busy unpacking, his voice growing sharp. "If you don't like it, you can leave. Doris is staying, and that's final. Stop complaining." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My voice trembled as I shot back, "I'm serious. If this happens, I'm calling my brother. I need someone on my side." Realizing he had pushed me too far, Bobby backtracked quickly. "Wait, don't call him. Look, Doris won't be here forever. She just needs a place to stay until she gets settled. Please, can't you just understand?" Reluctantly, I agreed, still feeling hurt and betrayed. "Fine, but can Doris at least stay in the guest room?" I suggested, hoping for some form of compromise. Bobby hesitated before answering. "Yeah, I guess that works." With a lingering sense of unease, we continued moving Doris's things into the guest room. We tried to salvage the moment, but before long, the doorbell rang, and Bobby rushed to answer it. I stayed in the kitchen, in my pajamas, completely drained. "Helen, Doris is here," Bobby called out from the front. I forced a smile and, though my patience was thin, greeted her. "Welcome, Doris. What brings you here so late?" With surprising boldness, Doris shrugged. "Can't I come home whenever I want now? Show me my new room, big bro." She followed Bobby upstairs, but not long after, she stormed back down, clearly dissatisfied. "This isn't the room you promised me. You said it was bigger," she snapped, stomping upstairs again. I felt a wave of frustration as I followed them, and that's when I saw Doris standing in the doorway of what was supposed to be my workroom. "This is my space," I shouted, my voice cracking. "You can't just take it." Instead of siding with me, Bobby looked at me as though my outburst was unreasonable. "Why don't we make this Doris's room?" he suggested, as if it were the most logical thing in the world. "No way," I snapped. "This is my room. You can't just give it to her." Bobby remained unmoved. Desperate, I pointed toward the room next door, his workspace. "What about that room? It's big enough, and Doris could stay there." His face darkened. "No, that's my room. I've been planning it for months, even picked out the wallpaper myself. Doris isn't taking it." Feeling defeated, I tried one last suggestion, the guest room, which was intended for future visitors. But Doris wasn't having it. "You're really pushing it," she sneered, not listening to the head of the house. "Pretty cheeky for someone who depends on him for everything." Her words stung, cutting through my resolve. Who was the real freeloader here? Doris seemed to be getting everything she wanted, while I, the wife, was left feeling like a stranger in the home Bobby and I had built together. Tired and emotionally drained, I retreated into silence. I wondered if this house, our dream house, would ever feel like my home again or if it would forever be a place shared with someone who didn't belong. I could hear Bobby's heavy footsteps approaching the guest room, the sound growing louder with each step. It was obvious he knew about the switch, and I braced myself for the confrontation. when he stormed through the door. His face was a mask of fury, with Doris grinning smugly by his side. "You went behind my back, Helen," he accused, his voice thick with anger. "Aren't you my wife? Shouldn't you be supporting me and your sister-in-law?" In that moment, all the affection I'd once felt for Bobby evaporated. He stood there, completely unmoved by my distress, offering no defense against Doris's invasive behavior, no apologies for the mess she had made of my personal space, no demands for her to put her things back where they belonged, just silence and accusations directed at me. I stood my ground, my voice steady despite the anger boiling inside me. "If this is how it's going to be, then I'm inviting my brother over. He's never seen the house. Maybe it's time he does." Bobby's usual wariness about my brother was gone, replaced by a newfound confidence with Doris at his side. "You sure about that?" he sneered. "If you let that thug into our house, I'll kick you out myself." "So kick me out," I shot back without flinching. "Try it. I'll call my mother, my brother, and his wife to come see this. Let's see how far you get with that." Bobby's expression hardened, and he stepped closer. "Don't you dare call your family. If you don't like it, you're the one who can leave." Doris, never one to hold back, chimed in with a smug smirk. "This is my castle with Bobby now. You don't have the right to call anyone here. Even if your family comes, we'll just kick them out." I remained unfazed, pulling out my phone. "Fine, I'll call my brother then," I said, eyes locked with theirs. "Maybe it's time we lived separately. You two can have the house to yourselves, invite your friends, throw your parties. Sounds like that's what you'd really prefer." Their faces lit up at the idea. Bobby even tossed out, "Maybe we should just get a divorce already." I couldn't stand their disrespect any longer. With determination, I dialed my brother's number. The weight of the situation was sinking in, but I was ready to make my stand. As I waited for him to pick up, I could feel the cracks in my marriage widening. Bobby and Doris buzzed with excitement at the idea of having the house to themselves, clearly thinking they'd won, but I wasn't backing down. "All right," I said, voice steady, "you'll regret this. I'm calling my family right now." My brother answered quickly, his tone eager. "We've been waiting for this. We're on our way." Within 25 minutes, they arrived. Doris, who had so boldly threatened to kick my family out, turned pale the moment she saw my brother. "Oh, Doris," I said, voice dripping with sarcasm, "I thought you were going to kick out my family when they arrived." She could only shake her head in response, clearly rattled. Bobby, too, seemed to shrink back, his bravado evaporating. My brother, a former judo competitor with a national ranking, towered over everyone at over 6 feet tall, his buzz cut giving him an intimidating presence. He now coached at a local boys' club. My younger brother, just as tall and with the same imposing demeanor, was right beside him. Both had been at our wedding and were unforgettable figures in their own right. "Huh, getting kicked out? By who?" My older brother laughed. "Isn't it you two who are leaving?" Doris, trying to maintain some semblance of defiance, shot back, "Yeah, Bobby's divorcing his useless wife. Now, please leave." My younger brother retorted sharply, "What? You guys are the ones leaving, aren't you? This is Helen's house, isn't it? Built with her share of our father's inheritance and in her name." Meanwhile, my mother was already in the kitchen, tidying up and shaking her head. "Oh, what a mess," she muttered before calling out to my brothers, "Don't drag this out, get to the point already." Taking her cue, my brothers turned to me and instructed, "There's someone else coming, let them in when they arrive." Without a word, my elder brother gestured for Bobby and Doris to sit, then addressed them coolly, "We have 2 matters to discuss. First, you both need to leave." Doris, looking incredulous, asked, "Wait, this house belongs to her?" Bobby hesitated, suddenly unsure. "Well, I was talking to contractors about the interior. I thought it was my house, but maybe it's not, but I'm still the head of the household, right?" The tension in the room thickened as my brother shot him a pointed look. "Being the head of the household doesn't mean you own the house, Bobby. 2 very different things." Bobby's face faltered, speechless for once. But Doris wasn't ready to admit defeat. "I won't leave," she said stubbornly, her eyes narrowing at me. "Do you know about residency rights? I have rights here. If you want us gone, you leave." "You've done your research, haven't you?" my brother replied, his tone cool. "But this isn't a rental property, and you're not paying Helen rent, so residency rights don't apply here." Doris had no response, her bravado crumbling under the weight of the truth. The power in the room had shifted, and Bobby and Doris were left in stunned silence, realizing they were no longer in control.